Well, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be. Um, kind of a shocking situation here. I really want to do a quick sound check because I want to make sure I get this right. So, if you bear with me here just a moment. All right, looks like we got good sound. Thank you, everyone who's signed in to watch. It's just my thoughts here on the whole Kyle Busch passing. Um, you only have this type of situation a few times in your life, where somebody who's, been or active in, sports in general, um, like Kyle Busch, I mean, right now, somebody who's new to NASCAR might not understand, but the talent, the the skill, the tenacity, I don't know, what other superlatives to put on Kyle Busch. And I'm going to make a statement up front. I would not call myself a Kyle Busch fan, but I respect everyone who is the best or one of the best at what they do, and that is definitely what Kyle Busch was. I mean, you see what he does when he goes to the, even now where he was struggling in Cup. It's hard to say was, um, you know, he just will dominate going to the Truck Series, or even I think didn't he run some, the Grand National Series last year, when it was Xfinity, now it's O'Reilly. So I just wanted to come on here. I've heard, I come home tonight and, I got home right around 6 o'clock. Well, maybe about 6:30, and my wife said, "Oh, did you hear that Kyle Busch died?" I go, "I thought she was kidding," and I was like, "No, not at all." And I'm pretty busy, especially late in the afternoon, what I do. But um, yeah, I was like, it didn't even register, And at first I thought, well, maybe it was an accident, and I'm like, oh, well, but I'm thinking, I'm like, well, they're not racing yet, and so that was just one of those things where I mean, it was so unbelievable that I just couldn't fathom it. The first thing I thought of, I mean, being a father and having kids that are in their late teens and early 20s, it's the first thing you think of was somebody like Kyle Busch, and you know he had been working with his young son, who's like 11 years old, I think now, 12. I'm not sure how old Brexton is, but work on getting him into racing legends with him. He's been trying to get him into super late models and trying to build his career up, and that was his goal, and it showed in his performance in his Cup Series. And that's not a criticism. That's just what happens. Your priorities change. So I just wanted to come on and I just was going to do this last night, and I'm like, I don't want to sound stupid when I do this. So, but I just I I'm just still kind of dumbfounded because there's been some I'm 51 years old now, so I've been through some things, and the death of Dale Earnhardt. You can say the death of Kobe Bryant in the NBA. Very similar kind of stages of their career, I'd say, where Kyle Busch is, and it's yeah, I mean, I don't know, you know, what you say here. It's when I was younger, it kind of affected me a little bit. My family was always Joe Shear fans, so local short track, asphalt racing. Kind of one of the most legendary drivers in the Midwest, Joe Shear. But when I was really young and first started watching racing, and I can't remember, I must have been like 7, 6 or 7. Larry Deachins. Maybe I was a little older than that. I can't remember the year, but Larry Deachins was a driver in the Midwest, and I liked him. I liked his car. He always had either a blue, like a really cool blue lettering on his car and the numbers. And he was actually really the Wimmers. So if you ever seen anybody that's from the local Midwest stuff, ever seen the Wimmers running around here, they always ran the same number design. So, but anyway, but just to make a long story short, when I got the news that he had died, I was a big fan of both him and Joe Shear. You know, if Joe was having problems, then I'm rooting for Larry or vice versa. You know, that affected me. And the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that I remember about that is that, you know, it was him and Alan Kowicki were racing when he spun into the infield, and I think he hit a light pole or something. I never really investigated it. He didn't care. You know, he just wasn't there anymore. That's something that kind of affected me, and always was in the back of my mind when I was starting to try to launch myself as a race car driver when I was younger, and it kind of kept me out of it, to be honest. You know, that was a racing incident. This is just something completely different, and I don't know what it was. I mean, there's a number of sudden illnesses you can get. You know, Kyle had the sinus infection or head cold or you know, whatever he had a few weeks ago, which was really affecting him at Watkins Glen, and he'd asked for some medical help when the race was over. And you know, nothing. They didn't say anything about it last week. He won the truck race. You know, did the interview after that. I didn't watch the interview, but you know, there's a lot of it come up. You know, because he was, you know, Kyle was always a guy that, you know, spoke his mind, and it was good that he was in the position he was, because a lot of people can't do that. They get shushed. And I'm sure he's been quote-unquote shushed by NASCAR, but he didn't care. Which was one thing good about him. I mean, I have family that's, you know, friends, or not friends, but fans of Kyle Busch, real Rowdy Nation type fans. I don't put myself in that category. Again, I just wanted to come on here and share my thoughts, because it was just like blowing my mind. And I actually was sitting here trying to think of what to say last night, and I let myself lean back and think, and you know, fell asleep for several hours, and got up about an hour or so ago, and I'm like, man, I usually would go back to bed, but I'm like, you know, I need to say something. This is just one of those generational type things where you lose somebody that's a big chunk of what goes on, you know, in the series. And I mean, you know, like the truck series, when he would go to the truck series, there was a very high probability he was going to win that race, or at least be up front most of the race. And that's something you can't say about many people. I mean, it's crazy. It's just dumbfounding, I guess. It just doesn't even seem real. And again, like I said, I don't call myself a Kyle Busch fan per se, quote unquote. But again, I respect the talent, the ability to come up as a teenager, you know, come up and start dominating, even with an older brother that, you know, was, you know, high level in the Cup. He came up and just became like the dominant guy, you know, and as a guy who's, you know, not only I guess you could say I'm a fan of Toyota. Kyle Busch is really the guy that put Toyota into the front-running position, not only because he ran Toyotas when they first came out in Cup, but because he ran his own team and was dominant with Toyotas, you know, through the you know, the teens and that, you know, and the drivers, until you know, he moved out away from Toyota and sold the team off, the Kyle Busch Motorsports team. It he was the one you worried about winning every race. I think I haven't heard comments, but I know Denny Hamlin and him were teammates for a long time. And, I think without Kyle there, Denny wouldn't have probably had as many wins. I mean, I'm sorry, backwards. Denny probably would have had more wins if Kyle wasn't there. But, it's... I wanted to say more, and I had some good things to say, but I'm just not pulling them out of my brain here on the spot. But again, it's just a crazy, thought-provoking, I guess, type of situation that you just stop and think, and somebody that's on the top of their game that has basically everything going for them, and they just suddenly pass. It makes you stop and think about, geez, maybe I won't have that chance to do this, a year from now, next month, It makes you think you need to do something now. So I know I've mentioned before on my channel here about, trying to start a race team when I was a teenager and getting inspired by some stories I heard. And I basically just grabbed the yellow pages, for those of you who remember that, started opening up and started calling around, seeing if places would be wanting to sponsor a young guy to come up. Now, these days, if I would have had all the knowledge I have now of marketing and promotion, I probably could have done it. But again, that's why you grow through your stages of life. But it makes me want to not wait. Because I'm a fairly healthy guy. I don't have any prescriptions or anything like that. But you never know. You never know. So, again, I don't want to drag this out, but again, my condolences to the Kyle Busch family, Samantha, Braxton, Lennox, the kids, and the Richard Childress Racing family, the Joe Gibbs Racing family. I mean, this is going to affect the Joe Gibbs Racing family. He was a big pillar of that organization. So, Spire Motorsports, especially the truck team, I'm sure there's a lot of people there that he hired still. So, yeah, it's just so sad. And again, I was watching Jeff Gluck earlier, and now I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I was trying to think of something I could do a little better, but just sitting there in the retrospect, the wins he had, the way he could take a car and just drive it up to the front, even if it was crap. And he struggled with the next gen car, and he will admit it. But when it came to trucks and he would come around here once in a while, run late models. He'd run on the dirt. He'd run just about anything. But yeah, sad day for NASCAR. I'm sure we'll see a lot of memoriam stuff, tributes, things like that. I didn't do this. I didn't do this to try to get clicks or views or anything like that. I just wanted to come on and again, just express my shock at something like this, especially considering he had been at a doctor, trying to get a couple weeks ago. It just still blows my mind how fragile, if you want to say, life is. Everything is fragile, nothing's guaranteed. But Kyle, I respect you, I salute you, and you will be missed for sure. Thanks everybody for watching. If anybody wants to leave any comments, please, if you want to just put your thoughts down. I mean, sometimes it just makes you feel better. A lot of times what happens with stuff like this is you realize your own humility. The fact that you're human and that life is fragile and that you're not guaranteed anything and you don't know how long you've got. So yeah, but it does make you stop and think, hey, something like this, should I keep waiting to do what I want to do, or should I do it now? Make it happen. So Yeah, that's about all I gotta say. If I could keep rambling on all night, but thanks everybody. I guess technically it's a day. I don't even know what time it actually is. It's probably somewhere around 4:30. But thanks again, everybody. Please like, subscribe if you haven't. Take a look at my other videos. Again, I did not do this for clicks. I did this really just because I wanted to get it off my mind. And I really didn't know. Just gives you a weird feeling something like this happens. Just, I guess, worry about your own humanity. And the legacy, legacy that you leave, Because one thing I know about taking care of my mom who can't really function anymore, and my father who passed away, the estate, is that you realize that, you spend this, whatever it is, many years on Earth, and who knows what that's going to be. But it's all wrapped up and put in boxes, and it just goes away. Somebody like Kyle Busch, he will be around in spirit for many, many years. I mean, come on, he's the winningest driver in the major NASCAR series in history. 200 plus wins. I can't remember the exact number. I think it's 63 in Cup, 69 in trucks, and 102. So what is that, like 230 something? Somewhere in there. 235 maybe? Somewhere around there. Anyway, just quick math. But again, I guess if anything else I can say, do what you want to do. Do what you need to do. Do what you want to do. Okay, not necessarily what you have to do. Do what you want to do. Still take care of your families and plan ahead. So that's about it. Thanks everybody. We'll see you around next time. Don't forget we've got HECS coming back. I'm going to be launching a new channel. That's not going to be live streaming. This will still be my live streaming racing channel. But I am launching a new channel, and possibly two. Just depends on how I want to work it. So that's it. Until next time, folks. Again, don't hesitate. Just do it. We'll see you around next time. Until then, KingPittDawg out.